Hey guys, welcome to Choosing Your Career. Today we are joined by Chloe Montez. She is a dancer on a cruise ship. So if you've ever wondered what it's like working on the water, this one's for you.
Hi, my name is Chloe Montes, and I am a dancer on board the Asuka 2, which is a cruise ship in Japan.
Chloe, thank you so much for joining us today on Choosing Your Career. Now, being a cruise ship dancer sounds like a really amazing job. How did you get onto a ship?
Oh, okay. So actually, I started working on cruises, doing the entertainment, doing dance lessons and that kind of thing, which started when I started going on my first cruise, which was on MSC. MSC is a cruise line which also does South African season. Me and my family went on vacation when I was like 16, and I was like, seems like the best life ever. And I'd already been a dancer on land for many years. I was a dancer when I was a kid, and so I said, I really, really want to do this. At the time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a dancer on board a ship because I wanted something a little more to do stuff all day long and not just to be sleeping in your cabin. And so I started as an entertainer on the ships. And then I actually met my partner about 3.5 years ago, Martin, and he is a singer in the shows on the ship. Now, this was on MSC still. And basically, I decided I'm going to change departments, be a dancer with him. And we worked a couple of years together on MSC. And now we moved to this cruise line, which we actually got our show reels accepted by a new company. And we've been now here, this is our second contract, working on the MS Asuka. So it's quite a journey. So you could see, it wasn't just a been here thing, but now it's been 5 years I've been working on ships. And I love it. I love it.
That sounds amazing, Chloe. So with being a dancer on the cruise ships, what countries have you been able to visit?
Oh my goodness, the countries. Let's see. So South African season, which you do Namibia, Mauritius, which other ones did we do? Reunion, Madagascar, that's South African season. Then in the Mediterranean, I was in France, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Greece. Oh my gosh, so many. Then there's Brazilian season. So you're doing all of the whole Brazil and South America side. Then I did Miami season. And so I got to do the whole of the Caribbean and Jamaica and Mexico. And that was amazing as well. We also do like crossings in between the continents. So you'll get to do also random little countries maybe normally you'd never get to go to. So
Okay, now you obviously get to travel around the world, right? Because you're on a cruise ship, you're on the water, you're going absolutely everywhere. Besides traveling, what is your favorite thing about working on a ship?
My favorite thing about working on a ship besides the travel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm very, very lucky now as a dancer to get to do what I love. That's amazing. Even just last night we had 2 shows and we had these little kids in the back of the audience, and in the finale they were all like dancing around with us. And I remember we went backstage and I was like, how lucky are we that we get paid to do this kind of thing, that makes us so happy. So that's a real blessing, because a lot of people who work on cruise ships, maybe your job isn't something you love to do. And as dancers, for it to be our passion, that gets us to travel, and I get paid to do it. That's amazing. So
That is a brilliant answer. Now, obviously there are a lot of good things about being on a cruise ship. What are some of the downsides to being on a cruise ship? Obviously you're away from family for long periods of time.
well, I have the best family in the world, so that's really hard for me. My family is amazing. If I could just bring them here and have them live in the cabin with me, then it would be the best life. So the hardest thing for sure, you can't obviously have your family on board, and sometimes you can't even stay in contact with them like you would in normal life, because maybe there's no signal, because we're in the middle of the ocean, so you can't even FaceTime them. You can't have your pets on board. Sometimes even Martin and me and my partner, we're separated. Rarely, it's not normally for long, but like for right now, if our contracts don't match up at the exact right time, maybe we're apart for up to a couple of weeks to maybe a couple of months. So that's unusual for normal life. You definitely miss your family is difficult, but then when you get to go home on vacation, I get to spend 100% time with them. Rather than sometimes, you see your family once in a while on weekends, I get to have my whole vacation really just one-on-one with all my family members, like I just did now. I just came back from that, and that was amazing. I love my family.
All right, so obviously on the cruise ship, you've got a variety of jobs. Like you said, there's singers, there's dancers, there's entertainers, there's all different types of careers on cruise ships. But what type of personality would be well suited to life on the water?
That's a really good question. That is a great question. Okay, you have to be willing to follow rules. There are a lot of rules on a cruise ship, such as where you can and can't drink alcohol. Drugs, huge no-no. You do not even want to try. You cannot do drugs on a cruise ship. You get tested quite often, and if you get caught, you get sent home. Same with alcohol. We love to have a good time, and we do have a crew bar on board. That before COVID, you can go and you have crew parties and these things, but you definitely have to drink responsibly, because we have alcohol tests and this kind of thing often. And again, if you're over the limit, it's a bit like drunk driving. We always say, if they catch you and you're over the limit, it's not just, oh, well, it's a Friday night and you can go to bed. You'll also get sent home. There's other kind of rules. You have to be back on board at certain times. You can only eat at certain times. You can't have some things in your cabin. So all these kinds of things, you'd have to have someone who's responsible and knows how to follow rules and can be very adult about these kind of things. You also have to be good at communal living. Now, I am very lucky. Me and all the production cast, that's 8 dancers and 2 singers, we all have our own big, beautiful cabin. Now that on most ships, even for dancers, even my old ship, you don't get it. That's unheard of. You're always going to have a roommate, unless you're an officer or some kind of management or something like that. So you're going to have to get used to living on bunk beds with a roommate in a very small space. So you'd also have to be someone who's comfortable with doing that kind of thing.
That really answered a lot of the questions that I was going to ask you. Thank you so much for elaborating on that. What would somebody have to do if they were starting today, if they decided, all right, I'm watching this interview, I love the idea of working on a cruise ship, and they wanted to be a dancer on a cruise ship, what advice would you give them?
Wow, to be a dancer on a cruise ship, you have to first of all put in the work. This is not just, you're putting on tights and lipstick and you think you can go out and dance there on stage because you like to dance in the club. This job is for professionals. The girls I am performing with were in college for however many years, whether they're from Australia, the UK, the United States. These are major professionals that I am blessed to work with. And I am lucky that from years of working on land, experience and training, that I'm able to keep up with them. But this is definitely not a situation where if you like to dance, you should be coming here. So once you've gotten the strong technical training, next would be how to get onto a ship. How do you get a company to hire you, right? So in a lot of countries, that can be very difficult because these companies are not coming here and doing auditions. If you're lucky enough to be in the UK, the US, Australia, you're going to get a lot of those companies like P&O or Royal, Princess, Carnival. They will actually come and do auditions for you, which is great. And if you can go to those auditions and if you can make it at those auditions, that's fantastic. So another great thing you can do, which is how I got both my job on MSC and my job here on ASCA 2 is to create a good, strong show reel. If you have a great show reel, you know, which 3 minutes where they can see your technique, they can see your figure, they can see your face, your flexibility, and you've got that together with a very strong CV with, if possible, other cruise line experience. But if you don't have it, it's okay, at least some dancing experience. If you can have those things and just be sending those off to as many companies as you can, find email addresses on Facebook, try email addresses on Instagram, really look online and look for all the different companies you can and try and send out your show reel and your CV. And even if you don't get auditions in your city or in your country, this can be a really, really good way.
What is your day-to-day life like? What do you do from the morning when you wake up to the evening when you go to sleep?
Oh, wow, that's a cool question. Okay, let's say it's a show day, because we don't do shows every single day. Depending on your cruise line, you will. I'm very lucky, and I don't have a show every day. So if I don't, I literally have a day off. That means I don't do anything. I want to go out in port, or I want to sleep all day, I can do that. And that happens depending on the cruise, but as often, definitely at least once a week. At least once a week, I will have nothing. But let's take you through a show day. Normally now I get up at 8:30 because I'm getting older and I'm getting mature and I'm not sleeping the whole day. So if I wake up at 8:30, I go down to the mess for breakfast. The mess is like a canteen. That's where we all eat together. Here on board, I'm allowed to go to the officer mess. So that's sort of a nice, smaller mess with nice food and that kind of thing. Maybe I do a yoga in the dressing room if I can. Then I'll try and do a workout. I normally try and get my 10,000 steps in by walking around on deck 7, which is very nice. If you're at sea, it's beautiful to take a nice walk around the ship. Then normally, maybe it's lunchtime, then we do another workout. Then I start getting ready for the shows. The shows are normally at 6 and 8 o'clock at night. So starting from 3 o'clock, you have to go into hair and makeup. Then we do notes, which notes is where our production manager and our dance captain go through any mistakes or any problems, or just clean little things that we did from the previous show. Then we do a warm up all together to make sure everyone's warm. Then I'll get all my costumes ready. Then I do my 2 shows, and then we eat all together, having dinner. And then normally I'll have a nice glass of wine. That's a day.
Oh, that sounds like such a good time. Now, Chloe, you did say that obviously you met your partner Martin on the ships, and now you guys are lucky enough to work together. You also said that sometimes you guys have to be separated and spend weeks, if not months, apart. How do you manage to keep your head up and just, work your way through it and keep your smile on when you're away from your family, you're away from your partner, and you're still having to perform every day and be excited about performing and putting on a good face?
How do I stay? Okay, so definitely I would have to say, as much as possible, Zoom, FaceTime, whatever you can, Instagram, stay in contact with your partner if they're at home or something, or your family. It would be very difficult for me if Martin was not working on board with me full time. We're very lucky that it's only a few weeks apart. I know there's a lot of people who work on cruise ships and their significant other is at home, and I would find that very challenging. So for the people who can do that, it's amazing, and I think if you really, really love each other, if that ever had to happen for Martin and I, you can totally do it. You really can. You just have to stay in contact on those things like Zoom. And the reality is, actually, particularly me, I have a lot of time to do that. I don't work 14 hours a day. I work 4 hours a day. So which gives me a lot of time, even if there's different time zones. Even if Martin is 12 hours behind me, I can be up at 4 o'clock in the morning talking to him, because then I can sleep the whole day. So for me, I really don't find it that challenging, to stay happy and to stay upbeat because, you know, you just remember how lucky you are. Hello, I'm getting paid to travel around the world. I get my room paid for. I get 3 meals a day or 10 meals a day. I don't have 10 meals a day, you know, and then you save your money. So there's, I don't know, for me, there's not that much to be sad and depressed about. If anything, you're just like, ah, I'm happy, I'm happy.
How have you managed to keep going through COVID? I mean, no one likes to talk about it, obviously, and you know, cruise ships have been a very sore subject when it comes to COVID in the past 2 years. Now, how have you managed to keep going through this pandemic?
Well, so we were really lucky because this is back in 2020 where COVID was really crazy. We were supposed to start my first contract and we ended up having to postpone, which was very scary, of course, like it was for everyone around the world, to not know when your job was going to start, to not know if you still had a job. They called us in September because Japan was doing really well with cases. Japan had completely closed their borders, completely. And so there were very few cases in Japan at the time. So they were able to bring us in on special visas, which was amazing. And we worked for November and December with passengers on board. Now the singers had like visors around their microphones. The guests were seated with designated seats. So only if you arrived together could you sit together, as in like a couple, for example, could sit together, but they were spaced very far apart in the theater. We could only have a very small capacity of guests as to what the ship can have. The guests all have to wear masks. We literally, it's quite funny, on the stage, we can be here on the stage, but we can't be here because here is too close to the guests according to COVID. So we have to be very careful with our footwork. They take it very seriously here. We, for example, I cannot go into passenger area at all because I am considered, my department, us as cast members, they do not want us to have any contact with any guests, whether they could pass it to us, we could pass it to them. They're very, very strict. We're kept in a separate area. We have to wear masks at all times except when we're on stage. Like I said, no passenger area and no going ashore during this time. So things are much stricter than they would normally be. I'm very lucky to work for a company that is so serious about it because you feel safe at the same time.
It is really nice to hear that the cruise directors and obviously all the people that go into making a cruise ship work are putting in so much effort to keep the guests and the entertainers safe. What is your future looking like? What are you and Martin planning for the future? Are you just going to keep cruising around for the next couple of years?
That's the plan as far as I'm concerned. Oh man, the future. I don't ever really want to leave. I wouldn't even know how to live back in a normal land life. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I'd be like, where's my food? I'm used to being fed 3 times a day. And, you know, who's cleaning my cabin? I don't clean my cabin. I don't know. I would be more than happy to do this for the rest of my life. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a partner also who does it, which means we can just go around together. And, you know, I'm 100 and I'm still doing this. That would be the dream.
Well, Chloe, if anybody can do it, I think with your personality, you will be the one who's able to make it to 100 working as a dancer on a cruise ship. Now, Chloe, my wife Marley would really like to know, how do you dance on a cruise ship when it's rocking?
It is really hard. I am not going to lie to you. That was something that when I was working on ships, before I was dancing in the theater, I was like, how do they do that? It is not easy. Yesterday, for example, we had guest artists actually having to get injected with some kind of something because it was rocking so much they physically couldn't go on stage, you know, because they were feeling so seasick.
Chloe, thank you so much for joining us on Choosing Your Career.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. My pleasure, absolutely. Do I like dance off now? Is that how I like exit off?
Oh, yeah.
There we go.